OptumRx Pharmacy Insights podcast. In this forum, we'll discuss the latest and most impactful events in pharmacy benefit management. This episode will focus on the backbone of the PBM, operations. Today, I'm joined by Jason Greenberg, OptumRx Chief of Operations, and Katie Schumacher, Vice President of Digital Products at OptumRx. Thanks for taking the time to join us, Jason and Katie. Can each of you talk a little bit about your background and what responsibilities you have here at OptumRx? Katie, let's begin with you.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me today. So I'm Katie Schumacher, and I oversee our digital experience across the OptumRx business, including both PBM and our pharmacies. I have been with the organization for 6 years now, and I am located in Chanhassen, Minnesota.
Great, thank you, Katie. Jason, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thanks, Scott, for having me. Jason Greenberg, Chief of Operations at OptumRx. I've been with United Health Group for 25 years and spent the last 10 years at OptumRx in operations and live in Chico, California. I've got responsibility for all of the core operations at OptumRx. So if you think about implementation, benefits, formulary, prior auth, call, claim, all that fun stuff. And then in addition to that, I'll just highlight one team because I know we'll be talking about innovation today, and that's a key area of focus for us. I have a team called the Capability Team, which straddles business and technology, and really they wake up every day thinking about how do we innovate across our constituents to make their lives easier. So great to be here.
Great, thank you, Jason. Excited to hear what both you and Katie have to say today. January 1st is a really important date in the world of PBM operations. I'm pretty positive that there's no one in this organization who can remember the last time they celebrated New Year's Eve. You know, it's important for plan sponsors. It's important for members. Jason and Katie, can each of you give us a sense of how things went from your perspective? And Jason, let's start with you.
Yeah, for sure. You used to always reference it as our Super Bowl, but it's really more of a marathon because it's a year-round process in which we get prepared for our January business. For this last January, really, really successful and really proud of the team. We had our highest volume of clients ever. And had the least number of issues ever. We were actually down 39% year over year in the number of issues we saw post go live, and that actually allowed us to close our command center earlier than ever. So we have a very disciplined process around managing issues post 1/1. And again, the volume was down so significantly that we closed earlier than ever. And then in combination with highest volume, least issues ever, we also got incredible feedback from our clients. I had the highest NPS we've ever seen at 69. And then from a satisfaction perspective, so we send out surveys, 99% of our clients were satisfied, and we met over 99% of our performance guarantees. So really, just as I said, proud of the cross-functional team that supports these new clients or existing clients who are making changes on one. Just really a successful year for us.
And I honestly couldn't agree more. I mean, digital being one of those cross-functional team members, I truly think this year was one of the most seamless I've seen because of that cross-functional collaboration and readiness that's happening end-to-end with our ops teams. The other thing I'd add is, it doesn't have to be such a disruptive season. We have an opportunity to shift left and start preparing, earlier for what some of those upcoming changes are, like with our onboarding experience. We actually saw that about 97% of our members felt prepared after receiving some of those onboarding communications ahead of that peak season. We also saw just a remarkable digital adoption this year. And I think that really goes to show just where we're seeing the market head, where consumers are heading. And so providing that data and information around changes, around actions a consumer can take, we were prepared to do this year. And I think that helped. And we saw that in the numbers and the growth in our digital assets. Mobile app alone was up 15% year over year.
That's fantastic. I know firsthand that getting that implementation right is such a predictor of future success. And so that's really, really great to hear. Jason, let's move on from January 1st. I don't think anybody would argue that, the health system was never really built as a system per se. What are you and the organization doing to connect some of those disparate parts and really simplify the experience for those members and plan sponsors that we serve?
Yeah, absolutely. Stitching these different experience and systems together is really, it's reflected in our overall mission statement around helping people live healthier lives and helping the healthcare system work better for everybody. But really, we have to think about all the different constituents in the experience. I think if you think about it in silos, you don't sort of solve the big problems. And I think that's been a big shift for us over the last couple of years, is really to think about things holistically and how it all works together. And so you've got to consider our clients' needs, and then our members, our providers, and our pharmacies. And so it all has to work together. My son was actually in the hospital last week, and so I was, feeling the impacts of the healthcare system firsthand, and it can be really frustrating, especially when you become the consumer. So it was really a good wake-up call for me to remember how important it is for us to really tie all this together and simplify those experiences for our members.
Jason, I want to tease that out a little bit more, if I can. Can you drill into a little bit more on what that client perspective was? What are the latest innovations and solutions that we're working on for clients?
Yeah, it all starts with our clients. They're the key decision makers. And so, it's really exciting for me. And it's, again, thinking about the healthcare and the ecosystem in the pharmacy space. And so it all starts with our Optum Rx Client Central. And this is the ecosystem that we have across our various systems, which empowers clients by connecting our industry-leading benefit capabilities, our RX claim platform, as well as our client portal. And so, RX claim is at the center of it. This is, the core of what we do is adjudicating claims. RX claim is the industry leader in terms of the size, scale, and volume that is processed from an adjudication perspective. We continue to invest in it to modernize it, but again, it's at the core of what we do, and then we surround that with all sorts of tools that help clients. So we have a proprietary cloud-based onboarding system. We designed it thinking about sort of, it's like TurboTax for implementation, and what it enables is us to do plan build automation. So activities that used to take days or weeks to build benefits and things like that now are sort of push button and take just minutes and allow us to have really high quality. And then we also leverage automation and technology for testing. So we ensure that we know what the outcomes are, they're what expected, and we have high quality. And then finally, we continue to invest in our client portal. And so the way in which we interface with our clients. Later this year, we'll actually be introducing a new and improved version of our client portal, which is really one-stop shopping for them, which will allow them to access the various components of our ecosystem, submit issues, and do the tasks that they need to do all in one place, as well as with enhanced reporting.
Katie, let's talk a little bit about the member experience. I think, Jason's story is a really good reminder to those of us, who work in the industry, right? That there's a patient behind every transaction. We know that consumer expectations have evolved over the years. What does interacting with their PBM or pharmacy look like to members new to Optum Rx in 2024?
Yeah, great question. And actually, just to kind of tie it back to what Jason was talking about, a lot of that automation that's happening earlier on with clients is enabling us to provide a consumer a better and more accurate experience further upstream, even ahead of 2024, so that we do see less of that disruption on 1/1. I'd say overall, members, patients expect to be able to manage things digitally. They expect to be able to make a phone call or go online, see consistent information, and really manage that like they do every other part of their life. We've also seen really good outcomes of switching to digital and driving that digital engagement. Digital promoters are 1.5% less likely to cancel a prescription. They have over 1.3 more scripts a year, and are 8 times less likely to encounter an issue. We also see benefits to the continuity of care overall. So a lot of investment has gone into our digital experience so that consumers, starting with that first experience with our PBM and pharmacies, understand their coverage, understand their options, and have that end-to-end experience. We spent a lot of time over the last year and a half redesigning all of the core parts of our digital experience across web and mobile. And really doing a lot of co-creation with patients, with members, user studies, co-design labs. And so we've seen just amazing outcomes, again, as we look at, what peak season was like last year compared to this year, that we can see in the numbers that people are, they're converting at higher rates, they're completing tasks faster, they're getting what they need without having to dig around deep into the site. So it's just been incredible. It's been incredible to see this organization's investment into automation and consumers' digital experiences, and it's been incredible to see the outcome and the benefits that come from everything from continuity to care, to scripts getting shipped at faster rates, and it's been really fun.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to Katie and team for their investment and all their work. I'd say it all starts with the member and the experience, though, and that's what we anchor on. I think there's still opportunity for more adoption of use of digital, especially in this space. As Katie walked through, we see better outcomes. The data shows that. And so our big push now is to continue to educate our members and sort of the always what's in it for me, and help them understand how they will have a better experience and outcomes through use of our digital property. So amazing progress that's been made. And I think there's not only more to do, but more to get that engagement from our members.
Jason, let's stick with that focus on our members. What are some of the things you can tell us that Optum Rx is doing to support members with accessibility and affordability?
Yeah, super excited to talk about this. It's sort of at the core of what we do, and and I'll tell you, in sort of operations is always the back office, but what we talk a lot about is the sort of why. As you said, there's a patient at the end of this, and I think what I'm really proud of and the sort of culture we've created is that the teams really wake up every day and understand that the work we do has real life implications for our members and consumers. And so, yeah, as you think about accessibility, it's really about meeting the members where they are. Again, Katie's work is incredible for those that want to engage digitally, but other things that we think about. So one of the things we've introduced this year is a Spanish IVR. We have over 200,000 calls a year for folks who prefer Spanish speaking. And so we've created this IVR to help them. And we've seen massive increases in satisfaction in that population through the engagement in the Spanish IVR. There's a real focus, again, on making drugs more accessible. Beginning in January this year, again, looking back to 1/1, Optum Rx placed 8 preferred insulin products on our standard formularies at Tier 1, ensuring that we're limiting the out-of-pocket spend for members to $35 or less, again giving members access to the medication. And then when I think about affordability for our members, one of the coolest programs we've got is called Optum Savings IQ. It was funded actually out of our health equity program, but it's a new scaled platform that enables our teams to see all of the savings opportunities for members for specialty drugs across copay cards, grants, foundations, manufacturer credit cards, and other free drug programs. So really, it's really got great breadth and depth in terms of what's available out there. Since we've deployed this, we've saved members over $1.5 billion. There's over 800 million in financial assistance delivered in 2023. And for 24, we're on target to save our members over $1 billion. And just as an example, for a patient that's on an autoimmune therapy, on average, they save over $10,000 annually. So that's just amazing in terms of getting our members access to the drugs that they need at the lowest price. We've also got our Price Edge product, which compares on benefit versus cash or off benefit prices, and then provides the best price to the member. So again, if you think about it, we're not just focused on what's on benefit, we're scanning to see what's out there from a cash price perspective and giving the member the lowest cost possible. We have over 8 million members using that today, and that's not something we charge for. That's something we do just to help our members. In 2023, we saved our members $30 million through our Price Edge program. and there's a $47 average member savings on scripts with that. So again, these are different programs that we're doing just to try to ensure that we have the most affordable drugs for our members.
And I absolutely love the topic of affordability, and a lot of the things that Jason highlights, they are so important to our members, especially within their experiences, because they expect transparency, they expect flexible options, and some of these programs like Price Edge, even like Savings Center, and some of the things that we've been able to enable both digitally and through our IVR has really shown our consumers that we can provide that level of flexibility. And we've really seen an improvement, again, in our consumer sentiment around that area.
Jason, let's move to another vital stakeholder in this whole equation, and that's our providers. Are we seeing a similar shift to these modern digital tools and how we're partnering with these providers?
Yes, Scott, the provider experience is really critical in relation to the member experience. They really go hand in hand. And so we've leaned into that the last few years. The two areas I think about, one is prior authorization. That is one of the key areas in which we interact with providers, and then specifically around the tools that they use in simplifying those. And so the EHR, EMR, electronic health record, or electronic medical record, that's the tool a tool that providers use. And so when I think about it in those two dimensions, from a prior auth perspective, we're an industry leader in terms of how we interact with providers. Over 84% of our PAs are submitted electronically, also called EPA. And of those, 2/3 are fully automated approvals. And so again, that sort of removes the abrasion and the lift from the provider's perspective. And as I said, we're really leaning into that EHR integration and leveraging the data that's available. Pre-check my script, not a new tool, but a tool we were the first to bring to market and we continue to invest in. It's embedded in the provider workflow. It allows members to check benefit and formulary for a specific member. And so when we see providers use that tool, patients save on average $119 per script, and plan sponsors save $266. And we see a 16% switch rate, meaning they move from one drug to another based on the information that was provided to them. We're also really leaning into just sort of a more proactive approach to prior authorization. Last year, we sent out 1.5 million proactive reminders starting the process sooner between providers when we have renewals on PAs. Again, we don't want to run out of time. We want to avoid any access to care issue. And so we've really leaned into that communication approach. And then we're also partnering with our clients. There's an opportunity, when clinically appropriate, to automatically extend prior authorization. So again, instead of making the provider and the member go through a renewal process, when it makes sense, we're able to automatically extend those. And we did that for over 750,000 prior auths last year. Again, that totally eliminates the abrasion altogether. And so those are just a couple of examples. But again, we continue to lean into that provider space to think about how do we better interact with the providers? How do we make their lives easier? And then there's the benefits to the member.
Last question for the both of you. It's pretty simple. What's next? What new capabilities have you excited? What do you guys think people should be aware of as we continue to innovate? And Katie, I'm going to start with you.
Absolutely. Gosh, there's a long list here. But I would say some of the top of mind things for me, especially as we look at just really over the next year and where we need to focus, is continuing to expand across channels, making those connection points across channel, doing more native integrations with things like our mobile app, leveraging the power of the camera, of the geolocation to know where somebody is and where they may find that best price. Personalization, just really knowing who our consumer is and teeing up personalized and configured experiences for them. And lastly, just choice for consumers, allowing them to kind of tell us where and how they want to be communicated, where they want to engage, what's relevant and important to them so that we can really craft that right experience.
Yeah, and Maya, I mean, this is probably the area that is most exciting. I talked about having a dedicated team focused on innovation, and so really what we're trying to do is take advantage of the new technologies that are out there, as well as the genius from the teams. And so just a couple of examples. we're working, again, I talked about the PA space and the integration with the electronic health record. We've actually got a pilot that we're going to be working on where we're able to leverage technology to reach into the electronic health record, gather all the information that's needed for a prior authorization, essentially process the prior authorization within a few seconds. And so instead of the traditional submission, rejection, and then submission of information, it allows us to integrate and use the technology and the data that's already available within the medical record to have the PA processed in seconds. So just if you think about that from a provider workflow perspective, lessens the work they have to do, and from a member perspective, they're getting their PA approved almost in real time. Other things where we're using AI, really excited about this. We're really trying to shift from being reactive to proactive. And so we have another pilot we're working on right now where we've identified certain scenarios or data that is predictive of an issue that will happen later. Things like out of stock medications, or in particular focusing on life-saving and life-sustaining medications. And so we use AI to predict when a member may have an issue, and then we're proactively reaching out to them to address it before it ever happens. And so this is, again, something we're piloting right now, but I'm super excited about. Again, it's how do we leverage data and technology to help our members and avoid issues altogether. And then finally, I'll mention our Mesa Integrated Pharmacy, new pharmacy we rolled out last year that really harnesses AI and automation. I've got a team of engineers who are probably some of the smartest people I've ever met. We have over 20 patents pending that are in use there that help us to drive scale and quality. We're distributing over 200,000 scripts per day with quality over 99.999%. And just as an example, we're using AI where we'll take pictures of every pill bottle and examine the pills inside and compare them to images to make sure that we've got the correct pill, the right color, the right size, it's not broken. So again, just leveraging technology both for scale and to ensure the quality of the medications that we give to our members.
Jason and Katie, it's been really impressive to hear how successful your approach has been. Thank you both for spending a few minutes with us today. Thanks for listening to the Pharmacy Insights podcast. I'm your host, Scott Drager. Tune in again for more discussions as we examine the most important issues in pharmacy care services.